When you enter this makeshift booth, you're going into a place where you're forced to look at yourself and confront the growing problems facing Long Island communities. Participants are asked to step into this interactive art installation and look, listen, and experience.
The idea really is to create an experience that is visceral, that when you're standing there, your stomach should hurt, and you should walk out of there feeling like you've just been brought down the path to hell with that person together.
Like how it said on the wall, you dig a hole so deep that you feel like you're nothing. It's hard to get out. Some people don't.
You walk in and you're in this booth, and it's not like there's lights flashing, it's not fancy, but it speaks right to you in a riveting voice. It speaks truth. There's no fluff. It's just straight up from the text on the walls inside to the story that it tells. It's riveting, and it's just honest truth, and it's, I think, what a lot of people want to turn a blind eye to, because they want to pretend, no, it's not me, it's not my kid, it's not my neighbor's kids or friends' kids, and I think there's a lot of people who need to step into that booth.
Long Island doesn't like to admit that we have a problem. The drug epidemic that's sweeping across Long Island needs to become public. Too often, the level of denial is so powerful. Not wanting to say that my child has a drug problem, or not even wanting to imagine that they could, that might be the deadliest force of all. The way the booth is designed, it's designed for someone who's entering into the booth to have an experience of seeing themselves in the addict, so that the clear spots in the photograph that would typically be white if it was on paper are actually a reflection of yourself.
Just walking into the booth, it makes you a little vulnerable, so it put me on level with the young girl who was speaking. I felt connected to the person that was speaking, only maybe because I was closed in and felt a little vulnerable myself, so I really focused in on what she was saying. And then as her story got more and more personal, I was drawn more and more into the picture.
You see this beautiful woman who's photographed basically like a high fashion model. And then right away, there's this haunting music and this voice that says, I'm a drug addict.
I've heard somebody come to my high school and speak, and then right after, we kind of made fun of her and went and smoked a blunt anyway. That's not gonna be me. I'm not gonna be that loser. And I turned out to be that so-called loser. Screw the world, I'm getting high. I started getting high again while I was pregnant. And I always said, how could somebody use while they're pregnant? That's disgusting. Why would somebody do that? I had no money, no job, got fired from my job, stopped going to school. My mother was sick with cancer. I found myself at the hospital when they pulled the plug, and everybody was crying, and I kind of had to force myself to cry. And I made one promise to her, and that was to get clean and get my life back.
Just to give you an idea of some of the feedback that we got from the kids after they went through the booth. These are just some fragments of quotes that came back from the kids. When you're in there, you're a part of her world. You're trapped like she is. In a single moment, your life can vanish. What if this happens to me? She doesn't look like someone who'd ever do heroin. It can happen to you too. She's normal, just like us. It's scary to think about that. Everyone tells themselves it'll never happen to me, but she gets across the point that it could.
Push Pause returns with more on the Just Like Me project. Just Like Me is a multimedia project with real names and real stories on the struggles of addiction, the tool for self-discovery and hope. There's a real need to find effective solutions to the teen drug epidemic on Long Island.
How do I know I'm gonna be an addict? I don't know. You don't know.
Because you're encountering someone through media in the booth, it's relatively quick for a teen to subconsciously lump that girl into a fictitious character because she's being delivered through media.
Bridget Ingram is a recovering addict.
What I hope that they can take out of it is the fact that maybe they don't have to get as low as I got. Maybe they could see themselves as being an addict, because my whole thing was I'm not an addict. I'm not an addict. I'm not an addict. But really, it started young for me to be an addict. And I just didn't call myself an addict. I just said I was having fun. So I hope that they can realize and see in themselves if it's there, just by hearing what I say. And if it is there, I hope that they can make a change. Go to NA, go to AA, find somebody that you can talk to, because secrecy will take you out. You need to be open.
My son recently passed away from an overdose, so it speaks directly to me. It was like listening to him, listening to his voice, if he could turn back time, if he could come back, what he would do differently. He thought also he was going to change the world, and the world changed him.
After the one-on-one experience in the booth, the group discussion begins.
This is Bridget. Her son's name is Braylon. And so you've all met her once already.
The idea of then coming back after that and actually having a conversation with Bridget, with the girl in the booth, as a very unpleasant surprise. Suddenly, there you are.
Like something really horrible has to happen.
When you're going through the booth, you're alone. It's very sort of you're inward and it's personal. And then you have the session afterwards, the question and answer with Bridget. And it's so incredibly personal.
Although I did suffer repercussions of what I did by losing my son, I had to go through the motions to get him back. And if it wasn't for that, I can't say that I would be where I am today.
Naomi reached out to me, told me that her 15-year-old daughter was in an incredible grieving place with her loss of her brother, and Naomi was desperate to be able to find any way that she could help her daughter, any way, just reaching out for help. So the idea came to me to invite Naomi and her daughter, Eve, into a Just Like Me session, mostly so that Eve could understand that she's not alone, and that I think that she could learn that by being part of a group of people who didn't even know her, and she could walk away from the experience knowing that the world is there to support her, and it's not going to be easy to get through it, but maybe she can at least understand that support does exist.
Now that I find that it's hard to be in class because it's hard to focus, and it's just I'm losing my passion and everything, and things that I don't really care about, because I've lost my Karen a lot in this past, how long has it been? 6 months?
She had a realization that day, and she was verbalized. She was very articulate. But I just felt like she really let it all hang out on the table, no holds barred.
We're on this earth for less than 100 years, and we're wasting our time. And I'm watching all these people around me, and there's so many kids committing suicide, and just, it's awful.
To see a 15-year-old girl enter into a session like this as the only young person, and somehow muster the courage to actually not only participate, but I felt like at times Eve was leading that group.
I'm so impressed that you could sit here in this group. I don't know my two daughters, I don't know if they could. I have no idea, but it's really hats off and compliments to you. You need to give yourself a lot more credit than maybe you're giving yourself.
Push Pause returns with more on the Just Like Me project. The fastest growing drug in American high schools is heroin. Drug overdoses are now the leading cause of accidental death in the United States.
But I didn't have that person there like, oh hey, let's go out today. Oh hey, let's do something, like showing me that love. Like,
Just Like Me is an interactive project with people like Bridget Ingram on her story of the struggles of addiction, the tool for self-discovery, and the hope to find effective solutions to the teen drug epidemic on Long Island.
Nobody wants to go to an AA meeting. It's the matter of whether you just make an excuse or you get up and go. Because
If I'm showing you the picture of my son, alive and vibrant, and then show you a picture of him in a coffin, would that make an impact enough on a young person to say, this is real, it happens? Or do they need their own personal brick wall to hit?
they need their own. I've had many people die around me that I cared about. But yes, I feel bad at the moment. But if you're in that addiction, you feel bad and you feel sad, but you don't really feel that. You know you should be feeling it, you know you should be, but it's just not there.
In my conversations with Bridget, and she revealed to me her ability to really articulate her plight and her understanding of what it meant to really get a message across.
So your words are coming out, but I'm hearing something else. What I'm hearing is that there's more going on.
The combination of her being able to share her story so courageously, but then also having this God-given skill to be a BS detector. So that when someone is there who is not that far from age, Bridget is 22, 23 years old, when there's a 16 or 17-year-old sitting there and attempting to hide behind their words, Bridget comes in like a laser beam and says, we're not going there.
If it's somebody that they could relate to, not a counselor, not a doctor, but someone who's been there, who is there.
Today, Bridget is raising her healthy 2-year-old son, Braylon, and living life substance-free.
Now, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I mean, of course, there's the regular struggle of the everyday life that was very not real in my world. Like, everyday life was not normal to me. Like, what was normal to me was making sure I had drugs every day. It wasn't like, oh, my bank account's low, I need to fix it. No, it was like I didn't even have a bank account, so. Nowadays, it's just the normal things that make me feel better.
It feels as if many people feel powerless. And along with that powerlessness comes a feeling of, well, what can I do? So let's make sure that we get those people to take care of the problem. The school should be doing more. Our government should be doing more. The media should be doing more. Those people, those groups, they should be doing more.
What can you do? Not what they can teach, what they can do, whatever it is, because odds are that's not going to change. It's not.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what
when
can you
I
do?
grow up, I want to be an art therapist.
Right now?
And help.
So can you do that right now? You can do that right now.
Well,
you
yeah.
can go for like a summer program and with little children and do that right now.
And I look at the people in my little world who are doing more. I look at Bridget, who's a recovering addict, who steps into a leadership position to say, I'm going to bring my experience to the fore, and I'm going to use everything that I have to help these kids. I look now at Eve, who says, I've just gone through the worst thing that anyone should ever have to go through, and somehow I'm finding the wherewithal and the strength to rise up and be a leader in my community as a kid. I just hope everyone else feels the same calling and asks themselves, well, what can I do?
For Push Pause in Huntington, this is Greg Blank.
You're talking about the same principle I'm talking about?
Exactly, and I didn't go way back.
This may look like young adults hanging out, having some pizza and a few laughs, but it's serious business. They're trying to raise almost $10,000 in 2 weeks for a project that will empower teens to believe in themselves, value their own self-worth, and resist the types of destructive behaviors that are becoming an epidemic among teens on Long Island.
Well, the purpose of the I Matter project is to steer kids away from destructive behavior, more specifically drugs, because there's an impending drug epidemic across Long Island.
Being able to be proud of yourself and share it with other people. I feel like there's a lot of people in the community that aren't really comfortable with doing that right now, and we wanted to find a way for kids to really just not only feel the self-worth, but be able to share it with other people.
A lot of people in school, they don't feel like they have something that they're a part of or that they do matter, and it's causing a lot of problems with like depression, and it's leading to kids to turn to a way to like escape.
The goal of the fundraising is to hang pictures of students on every window of both branches of the Huntington Public Libraries beginning on June 7th.
So there's a leap of faith that the community will pull through and that we'll hit our goal.
Project founder Rob Goldman is joined by students to present the project and the Kickstarter campaign, which is being led by the teens themselves. Several of the students who were involved in the successful Northport campaign are helping with the Huntington fundraising efforts.
We wanted to keep it going and we wanted to keep our impact going. So Rob started up at Huntington and he invited us to come help and like show what we did at Northport and bring it on in Huntington.
We have until May 15th to raise all of the funds for both the Huntington Main Street Library and the Huntington Station Library. The beauty of using Kickstarter as a fundraising tool is twofold. One is that it puts the kids in the position of power to get the word out and drive traffic to a fundraising tool. The other thing that I love about it is that we're not relying on any large organization or government grant or corporate sponsorship to make the iMatter project a success. It's a truly democratic fundraising process where the iMatter project will live in that community. We're going to that community to say, if you can just do your small share and you can step up with a donation of $20, $50, if you can afford more, great.
We've gone and presented to a bunch of people, and we've also gone to different restaurants and had different events there and where we've spoken, and that's been very effective because the people are taken back when they see kids going up, because it is hard to talk in front of people about something.
They basically run the entire project. I had 3 kids with me yesterday in the middle of the day presenting to the Huntington Rotary Club. We met last night and they came up with about 7 or 8 different ideas of how they're going to actually go out into the community and do the fundraising. We need to get approval if we're going to be able to do this really fast.
I think that's a main reason why a lot of kids do like to be a part of this, is because it's not an adult saying, this is what we're going to do, you need to fundraise for this. It's Rob allowing us to say, well, how do you want to raise money for it? And that's why people are coming back, because the kids feel like they have the power in this project.
And have a sign that says free cookie with your donation.
With donation.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to reach our goal on Kickstarter, because we need to reach $9,800, because if we don't get it, we get 0 of those dollars. And then we cannot fund the program that's going into the library.
Yeah, these huge pictures are really expensive because the material used and the vast size and the amount of pictures we hope to get onto the library, since we have so many windows.
Altogether, there are 36 kids who have participated in the Huntington iMatter project. So between the 2 libraries, that means a total of 72 prints that range from 3.5 to 5 feet in height. And they're printed on perforated vinyl, which is a very expensive material.
Push Pause returns with more about the iMatter project.
We're dedicated teens from your community.
Huntington kids, raising our voices.
And raising money for the iMatter project.
We're making a difference and changing the face of our community one child at a time.
Using art as a means to empower a teen is to be able to say, my photograph is hanging up there, my words are connected to my photograph, and I'm speaking to you, my friends, my world, and I have something to offer you. And I think that one of the things that they're offering is courage. The courage to be able to stand up and say, I'm okay. I'm okay with who I am. And it's not easy to do that, especially to do it in a situation where your photograph is 5 or 6 feet high and your words of personal worth are really kind of being screamed out to the world.
Long Island police departments report an increase in heroin use among teens, and because of falling prices and increased purity, its consequences are often fatal. The ownership that these students take in fundraising is in line with the theme of empowerment that the project fosters. Students are hands-on in every step of the process. Goldman, an accomplished, internationally published photographer and author, lets the students take the helm of both their images and their words.
The project starts with everyone who's taking part in it. They take pictures of themselves, but they do it in a more of a fun way. So everyone's photo shooting each other, having a good time with it.
It's someone that you had just talked to about some questions. We do sort of an interview with each other before we do the picture taking. So it's things like, tell me about your biggest fear, and just the first time I did it, I was talking to my friend Justin, and we talk about school and friends, but I had never really heard any of deep issues, things like that. And then getting behind the camera or getting in front of the camera with him behind it felt a lot more comfortable, and it was really valuable to be able to just get on another level with him.
I did the photo shoot with my friend Jason. We went in, at first we were just okay, we're here, but then we kind of got into it, and we started doing crazy stuff, and it turned into a fun thing, and but it's actually important.
It was really fun. He showed us how to work the camera and where to put our thing. It was cool.
When you're with your friends, it's more of a comfortable setting, so you're more willing to act out and be who you actually are instead of a proper person in front of an adult. So it just opens you up more.
It was really fun because it wasn't like a photographer was coming in. It was like one of your friends or peers, someone your age, taking pictures of you, and you get to pose any way you wanted to make funny faces. So it was really fun.
And then we read an excerpt on why we think we matter.
You're basically asked, why do you matter? And you have a little bit of time to fill this out about yourself.
Once the photographs are taken, then they're given a piece of paper and asked to go off privately and to write down a minimum of 5 sentences that answer a very difficult question, because if I asked you this question, you'd struggle with it too. Why do you matter? It's not easy. And some kids sit there and really cannot even get the first sentence. We actually got one back that said, I don't.
The cool part is that Rob actually picks an excerpt from each passage, and he puts that on the pictures, blows it up huge across, the windows of the libraries.
A lot of them are I make people laugh, I'm an individual. I believe mine